our mantra is we have to disrupt the status quo. Otherwise, we don't focus on any project. So if we have a project that is going to be disruptive, let's go and do it. We want to change the current practice to make it better, to improve patients' outcome. Otherwise, we don't go just to get something to sell. That's not our culture, our DNA.
Design for healthcare, to beat cancer and save lives. This is Design-ERS, an irreverent podcast for unconventional makers.
Hello.
Hello guys, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
We are back with Giovanni di Napoli. Please, Giovanni, before any introduction that I can make, tell us a little bit more about who you are and let's say your history, but in 1 minute. Go.
So thank you guys for having me in this podcast. I'm very happy to share some of my background and what we actually as a company have been working with. So I am the General Manager and Vice President of Medtronic, particularly for the GI, gastrointestinal division in the company. And I'm here in Silicon Valley, like Federico, in Sunnyvale. And I moved here 6 years ago, actually. And I've been with the company for the last 11 years. I've been in MedTech for more than 20 years. Before Medtronic, I used to work with Covidien, which actually was acquired by Medtronic 4 years ago. And before then, I used to work for a startup company, which is this company where I'm sitting now, which was bought by Covidien. So it's an acquisition kind of succession here. And before that, I used to work for Johnson & Johnson Medical and in different roles. So right now I'm managing the GI business as a general manager, which means I am in charge for the entire operation of the business, including also research and development and all the other functions.
Wow.
Not the bad.
Let's say an 18 minutes, probably. Let's say like that.
I was on time, right?
yeah, but
nobody really
it was
counts.
hard.
So, yeah.
No, nobody really counts, but it was hard to make kind of a pitch in like 1 minute. I mean, thanks a lot.
You can see that the guy is a
Thanks
general manager, so it's, he knows how to speak and he knows how to present himself. That's great. See? Lesson learned
That's
from
true.
us. Like, yeah, if you can do it in a minute, then you're done. Awesome. Thank you for the intro. And one of the reason why we wanted you, apart from the intro, is that you are showing us the other day through your LinkedIn. You were sharing with us something pretty amazing. And one of the themes that we wanted to talk about is definitely design for healthcare. It's a really important theme, and there's a lot of designers who want to get into that. What I saw on your LinkedIn, so people can know a little bit more about it, is that we're talking here about people's lives to some extent, people's lives. And there is this concept that you guys delivered and created, probably you are delivering right now, and I will ask you more about that. You deliver this concept of having like a pill cam, so something that you can, a pill that you can swallow and pretty much checks from the inside out, checks everything that goes out in your body, and it's connected with camera and other sensor, so you can have something on your phone that can help you understand what's going on and even get connection with a medician and go and schedule visits if needed. So that's the 30-second pitch. Now I will ask you to tell me a little bit more in a better way.
Yeah, so when I got this job as a general manager 3 years ago, I got to know what kind of projects the R&D team was working on. So PillCam, this vitamin size pill, it's not a new device. So this device has been in the market for the last 20 years. But has been in the market for the last 20 years for a different indication mainly, which is the small bowel. Some people can have iron deficiency and they feel sick, they feel tired, they go to the doctor, he's trying to give some medication, it doesn't help, so they need to go for an investigation and see an endoscopist. In that case, so they perform an upper GI endoscopy and a lower GI endoscopy. If those two are negative, that means the endoscopy was not able to reach the very deep small bowel place where maybe this bleeding was coming from. So the only option is to swallow the PillCam And right now, the technology works like this. You have to wear a recorder, which is very heavy. It's like a piece of instruments like this. You have to wear sensor belt, a sensor array. It's kind of bulky. It's not very consumer, let's say, or patient friendly. So when I got this job, I was meeting with my team on the R&D side. They are based in Israel. They are phenomenal. They are the culture in Israel in terms of innovation, guys, it's just really almost like here in Silicon Valley, if not even in some cases better. And I sat down with them and I said, I think we should move this technology to the next level. And this was 3 years ago. And the discussion became very interesting because, you could tell there was a lot of legacy in the team where, what they've been doing was right and was perfect. And they didn't see the need for moving this business and also this, opportunity to improve patients' outcome next, because they were sure this was already working very well. So my idea was colorectal cancer is deadly, but it's also the most preventable cancer, but still the least prevented, which is really, really bad. So if you take a screening test, you can prevent cancer and you can beat it in 91% of the cases. So it's a really high number of possibility to survive and keep living your life. The challenge is that in the US, 22 million patients every single year, they don't want to get screened. And the reason why is because colonoscopy, I guess you guys know colonoscopy, what is, it's not a pleasant procedure. You need to prep, you need to go to the hospital, you need to get undressed, you need to go into the endoscopy suite, you get this tool in your body. So it's for sure not a procedure that you just, okay, let's go and do it. It's not a blood test, right? So what we thought was, can we bring this technology at home? And, it was an interesting, meeting. I still remember sitting in this meeting room and the answer was, no, we can't. I mean, we got to change everything. It's going to take years. And I said, well, we don't have time. Our time is now. So we have to challenge this. And, it was a long process. So to convince them that we could challenge what they have done and move this next, it took about 6 months in meetings, in fight, and also in listening to other consultants, company in Silicon Valley here, who actually, they were saying, yeah, it is possible. And the team in Israel got fired up. They said, okay, it's possible. So let's talk about it. And, after we got together again and again, so we lay out a plan. That is what actually I shared in this post on LinkedIn. And now we are moving towards development. So the project's still under development, but we're making progress, as I said during my video. And we expect to go for a clinical trial end of next year, where we can show also this device in patients. And I'll pause, guys. Maybe you have other questions.
Wow.
That was great.
That's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it is because I'm super interested in the healthcare sector. I mostly last year worked with Giacomo Carteni here for a digital program in Italy kind of sector for the hospital. And what I was interested most and what I was scared most at the beginning was this kind of technical amount of time that is required from the design to the launch, because of course, you are dealing with healthcare, right? So we cannot be super fast. My question for you, Giovanni, is how long does it take to generally speaking, to design and launch such a project around the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the frustration of medtech. It's not like consumer, right?
Yeah.
So you have so many players, so many regulations, so many differences in each of the market that it makes things very much complicated. So think about this. Usually, a project like this can take from 4 to 6 years. To get to the end of the project. And then the challenge is also that you have to prove the device is going to be safe and effective. And then you need to convince also the regulatory bodies in each of the region, which are also different. So what you do with the FDA, it doesn't work with the European regulatory body, which doesn't work with Chinese regulatory body or Japanese regulatory body. So it's a very different environment. So it's not like launching an iPhone globally and then, October 24, you can order the iPhone everywhere, right? So here it's not like this. So you need to prove the device, which is, good because, you want to be safe as a patient when you go and receive this device. Now, what we do at the early phase is to listen to customers. We have usually these round tables. We invite a diverse list of endoscopists. We ask questions about what if, and they give feedback. So to make sure that if we're going to invest that much money, it makes sense. It's going to solve an unmet need, or it's going to be a commodity. So it's going to be a Me Too device, which is not our DNA. And I forgot to tell you, but in my business, our mantra is we have to disrupt the status quo. Otherwise, we don't, focus on any project. So if we have a project that is going to be disruptive, let's go and do it. We want to change, the current practice to make it better, to improve patients' outcome. Otherwise, we don't go just to get something to sell. That's not our culture, our DNA. And this Pilcan Genius device, we believe, is going to be a big disruption, because if you can go on an Amazon website, order the capsule, and do test at home, at the comfort of your home, why not, right? So, you can just enjoy your day, and meanwhile, you can get screened. And if something is not clear, then you can have a therapy the same day. So, which we believe is going to be a very important piece of the value proposition of this technology.
I was very impressed by how well crafted, not only the video, because you can have very compelling video that tells an amazing pitch, and then there is no substance under it. But that we're talking about like medical devices. So as you said, the amount of regulation that you guys have to go through is insane compared to the other consumer devices. What I really love, and what I think our listener will be capturing, is that in your words, you really brought to life what we say multiple times, is that you don't have to be a designer to apply the principle of creating and reframing the status quo. So what I love is that as I was listening to you, I could feel that you were starting with an opportunity, and your big mission was like to curate cancer and save lives. You got the opportunity, and that you had a problem statement that was very, very well defined. That is like, people don't like to get screened. Even though it's curable, people just don't get screened. And then the whole process that you described was focusing on the opportunity in order to solve the problem statement. And what if, like you just said that, what if we change the way we do it?
Listening to the customers.
Right? You make it easy, you make it doable. So it's amazing, because you're creating something, and yes, it's going to take 3-4 years from the beginning to the end. It's incredibly complex in all the stages, but of course, starting from the device, I love the idea that you also have the ecosystem, the digital ecosystem of the app. I think it's super clever. The fact that you can have it and control it like from your device, but also the logistic part, that is the Amazon, and the partnership you guys have with Amazon, that makes everything very, very easy to get. And I think that's also an interesting part of the element that you designed. So altogether, I was impressed by how you guys put this picture together, and how you were able to compress it in like a 2-minute video or something like that. I say great job.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking
Thank you,
about
appreciate it.
It was great.
Yeah. I have a great team, so I'm humbled by all of them. They have been working so hard, and still working very hard to make this reality. So we're really under a lot of pressure, but we know we can deliver. And I was mentioning to you the team in Israel who is in charge for the development of this technology. It's honestly one of the best I ever worked with. So they're so passionate. They're so into trying to find always solutions that can improve the technology, improve also the timeline, because we know that we can impact patients also by shortening the timeline. And, I can tell you it's a pleasure. I'm learning every day when we have a Zoom call. And I used to go to Israel when I could travel before the pandemic, almost every 2 months, because it's refreshing to be into this culture of innovation. There is a couple of nice books about the Israeli culture in terms of how they disrupt the markets that I read, and I was able to see myself when I was there working with them. They are so competitive, but in a good way. They want to achieve something that nobody else could, and they want to show it, and they usually can get there. So that's also helping us to overcome many of the barriers we have found so far in this project.
Talking about barriers and I would say problems, how do you guys balance innovative concepts with the current feasibility of implementation?
There is a tendency when you start a project like this, especially when you know the technology like we do, to say initially that you can't change it unless you go over a complete reshape, redesign of the entire concept. which actually was something that somehow we did. But we had such a great technology already working that we had to keep also some of the current features and also components of this technology to move this project faster. So the tendency was to we can do it. We know how to do it. And somehow this make you feeling in a comfort zone without getting the pressure of maybe someone else outside can help us doing something even better and maybe even faster. So I was talking about the Israeli culture, and I think that's the best part of the Israeli culture. They really want to get things done. They're very innovative, but usually they're not very open to get outside support. But in this case, my team was amazing. So my team was the one asking for where it was possible and was needed outside support. And, we had a variety of different consultants working with us that are helping in delivering some pieces of this innovation, right? So we talk about the ASIC and the capsule, we talk about the microchip, we talk about the camera. So this capsule is small, but it's so complex. It's amazing, guys. It's so complex. And you have to have a good supplier, good contractors, a good consultant that can help you overcoming, and in some cases, accelerating the development. And the team in Israel, it's aware of, and they've been managing such a relationship extremely well, which, so far, knocking wood, things are working as planned. And I'm proud of. So to answer your question, you need to be able to also open your mind, go outside, see options. Someone maybe can do it faster, better, maybe even cheaper than what you can, and you assess, and then you just make the decision. You keep moving.
Wow, this is design thinking 2.0. Boom. I mean, that's great. It's good to hear.
Incredibly practical, and it's a scale for a very complex situation. So we really think that this is going to be super inspiring for the people listening to us. And most of the time, again, people are thinking about medtech and they think about like 3D interfaces or something that can change the business model or the way we talk to patients. Here we're talking about a brand new device. And on the design and the delivery of the device, you said that the pill cam was to some extent already invented, right? So you guys just perfectioned it and you make it like more suitable for your purpose. Is that what you guys did on this round of innovation?
Yeah, there are many pieces that we improved, many pieces that we really completely changed, and many pieces that we got new, basically. So I think the base of the capsule, it's similar to what we have right now, but the next generation PillCam Genius has many different components that the current technology don't have. So for that reason, it was even more challenging in terms of design because, you didn't want to give up what you already built and you didn't want to reinvent what was already invented and was working. So where is the balance, right? So, and I think that's the reason why, I'm proud for the approach we took to find this balance in, what needs to be disrupted and is going to make a huge difference. And we thought was, artificial intelligence clearly is something that it's going to help to increase and to have a better diagnosis. The GI is going to make the diagnosis anyway, the endoscopist, but it's going to get more information, meaningful information, how to make this diagnosis. The patients with this technology is going to have a much better experience than today, and those, so for us, were the two important areas. If I'm into these 22 million people in the US who is not in the mood of getting screened. So what do I want to see? And we did a lot of market research, a lot of patients assessment. We did just to understand the why behind you don't want to get screened. And one of the major cause is because I don't want to get a colonoscopy. I don't want to go in the hospital. I don't want to lose a day of work. I have logistical problems. Nobody can get me to the hospital. So all of these boom, made us thinking, we have to deliver something that is going to be easy as ordering, grocery from Amazon. But it's a high-tech camera that is going to be able to potentially, prevent development of cancer in your colon.
I'm so happy to live in this century, guys.
Oh yeah.
No, honestly. And in the road for the disruption, you need to fail a lot. And my question is, what is the biggest mistake that you have made that you are the most proud of? I know that you are failing a lot, of course, but still failing probably. But in terms of achieving this success, this potential success, What is the best mistake that you have ever done?
Well, that's a tough question because I make mistakes every day. So I kind of I think there was a time when we started to discuss about this idea that I was almost giving up. I was almost giving up in the first round of iteration of ideas where I found many barriers technology-wise that couldn't be overcome, and many barriers also in terms of how we can address this internally in terms of investment. And I think I lost a few months. Whereas, in my opinion, at that time, what I should have done was to take a step back and reassess again what the need was at that point in time within the company to move faster. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to create a delay in what we are doing, but I think what I learned out of this is that if you really believe the technology can be improved and the unmet need is present, you have to find a solution, and you should never give up. And you should always look for feedback even outside of your comfort zone to make sure that you can run this project. And projects like these are very complex, right? So you can fail anytime. So I think that's also what we are into it now. So the pressure we have every day is very high because any day is going to be a new day for us. So what I'm saying is that I learned a lot. I gained confidence throughout the last 3 years into this project. Initially, my confidence was maybe it's not. Maybe it's just my idea. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe I'm dreaming, right? So and I think I would be now in the next project. I will be just going straight without losing a single hour to the solution side to support the team to believe that this is going to be a possibility for all of us.
I would say I will echo that from my experience, especially when you got to do something that nobody has ever done. You need I call it a change agent, someone that really believes, a dreamer, whatever it needs to be. Sometimes you really need to believe in something to make it happen. If everyone is, it's kind of like the elastic band analogy. You have to stretch your thinking and go as wide as you can, because when you release the band is going to come back. So you are the force that stretch that elastic band. And you have to make sure that you stretch it pretty far in order to get that in a better situation, right? So that's what a change agent does. And I love that you mentioned it, especially for, you guys that might be working on more like bigger companies, or you're looking forward to that. Some of the soft skills that are part of bringing creative into the big companies, really believing and having a passion for that. Because if you don't, nothing's going to happen. There will always be a blocker. There is always going to be a dependency. There's always going to be a constraint, something that comes and blocker.
Let's say it's an everyday effort every single time or every single moment.
So, and actually what I learned also when we started this project and we started discussing about AI was 3.5 years ago. And AI, was not like today, it's now a buzzword, right? So AI everywhere. But 3.5 years ago, AI was not really, very common in medtech. Now, I know many companies are trying to get into this space, and by doing this, also we were able to address and assess other technologies with artificial intelligence. So the beauty of starting this project gave us also the confidence of, as organization inside, to really look at the artificial intelligence not only for this Pilcam Genius technology, but across the portfolio. So, this is actually enabling other options in our portfolio as well. So think about it. We had a few engineers in Israel working on AI 4 years ago. Now we have a very robust team on AI, who is going to be able actually to expand this knowledge across different devices. And I don't know if you saw, Federico, Raffaele, the video also. I talk about another device called GI Genius, which is basically a device that can be used into a colonoscopy procedure, because colonoscopy still will happen, right? But what happened today in colonoscopy is that you do, as endoscopist, as a GI, you do 10, 15 patients a day, okay? So your eyes are focused on the screen, looking at the colon for hours, 10 hours. So the likelihood to miss a lesion is very high because, you get tired. I mean, right, if you're going to be the last patients of the day, I think it's not as, the endoscopy as fresh as the first patients. So GI Genius is going to keep this performance stable because basically you move your scope into the colon and then a bounding box, a green box, is going to blink and tell you, hey, stop here, this might be a lesion. So this is going to give much more confidence and also, bringing colonoscopy to be almost close to perfect. And I think that's another important piece of what we did. We started with Genius AI, we designed the project, we felt good about it, and now, AI can be, an important disruptor in our business. Why not also additional devices with AI?
Because it was sense. A why behind. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense, especially when you feel like there's a lot of AI thing right now that you actually think about, does it make sense to use AI in this sector, in this field? So combining these new trends of AI with a good purpose, actually, Giovanni, it's great. Thank you so much. I mean, it's honestly what we should move forward in terms of helping and changing the behavior of people for good.
It's a very inspiring conversation so far. Like, again, I believe we brought someone that probably Giovanni doesn't call himself a designer, but in practical, he speaks about design all the time, and I love it because that's exactly why we wanted to do this podcast for, and improve the world that, again, the creative thinking is everywhere. Giovanni, I have a question for you that, and again, we're friends, we've been knowing each other for a while. I know that this kind of works, especially in, let's say, in the medical field, they are not like a profession that just start, out of, I want to be a pilot or I want to be an astronaut, right? But for the work that you do and literally getting through and striving every day, passion is a huge part of it. How do you discover your passion for this industry, and how do you keep the fire burning?
So it's a great question, Fede. Thanks for asking, actually, because I got it from my father, from my dad. So he's even my mom, both of them, they were very, very poor when they grew up. They had to leave their own village to find a job in Switzerland. They are from Naples, by the way, Raffaele. They had to leave. Yeah, they had to leave. They had to find a job. My dad did, I don't know how many type of jobs in the first 10 years after he left this village. He was 18. So he wanted to find a purpose, and the purpose was to build a family. And then he got stable in Rome, close to Rome, where we used to live, where I used to live. And then he started to be a nurse. So he was doing 3 jobs. So he had a restaurant, a bar, and then he wanted to also become a nurse. So he went for this. I think it was like a place where you could apply, and he had to go through different tests. So long story short, he got the job, and he became a nurse. So, and by seeing him working in this hospital, every day, being back home, sharing the story about what he saw, how doctors were helping. I was always fighting when I had to make the choice of what should I do when I go to the university, right? So, and, my story, it's kind of crazy, but I was playing basketball, coaching basketball. So I was focused on basketball mainly until I was 22. But still, I had this medical side that my father gave to me. And then at some point I found this job in Johnson & Johnson Medical, and I got to know this recruiter and this manager. He was telling me about the device they were making to a patient's life, and I had to be in the OR, in the operating room, to support the doctor to use the device. I said, what? I have to do? Yeah, you can. You get the training, you go in the OR, and you support the doctor. And I said, wow, I love this job. So, and like this, I stopped playing basketball, coaching, which was for me tough to leave, and I got into this job, and I loved it, and from the first second. I still remember first time I was in the OR, I actually fainted because the smell of burning tissues was not nice. But that was an experience, right? So I think for me was this is what I want to do, and as I grew up into this business, into this market, I could see many times how my actions could make an impact on people. If I was calling a doctor to tell him, hey, can you try this device? and he didn't know about the device, and we knew that the device was improving outcomes, I would have missed, 5 patients, 10 patients. So my calls, my meetings were impacting patients' life. So that's the reason why what I'm doing here now from my chair in this job, it's even more larger because it's global responsibility. So I am super excited. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day here in Silicon Valley. That's the way we do it, right, Federico? Wake up early. I have West Coast, East Coast, Japan, China. I don't care. I just am full of energy. I want to deliver. I want to be, supportive with my team because I know that decisions we make are going to impact patients' life.
You have to speak right now for them without words.
You're speechless. I think that's a great story. I didn't know about that. It's a
that was
story.
Great.
Yeah, and really shows the passion. And for everyone again that is listening, I think that we don't need to add much color. It just show that if you don't have that fire, you'll never get there.
Something that I really loved was the fact that you talked about like a failure, kind of, that it's not a failure because the opposite of success for you was not failing, but was learning and improving and keeping the fire up, and it's incredible.
So Rafa, I know that you have to ask the signature question because I'm not working.
I should. Giovanni, you are not a designer. You're not born as a designer, but you are acting better than a designer. If I, from my perspective, better than us. So, apart from tech, apart from your day-to-day job, can you give us your definition of design?
Design for me means innovation. Innovation for me means challenges. Challenges for me means opportunities. So that's how I see design. And, I love innovation, I love challenges, and I make them opportunities. And I keep thinking every day about design. So, and this could be anywhere, not only my job, right? So it could be the way I see things, and I see also how I want to design my day, has to be innovative. And I think that's the way I think about design. It's a process. I think it's also a mindset. I don't think it's for everyone. I think people, it's different, right? So some people, maybe they don't care and they just want to follow the crowd. There is people instead who wants to step out and just, think differently. And I think you have to have this mindset, a mindset of, a growth mindset, I would call it, a mindset that is going to give you the options to think differently. And when you get an opportunity, find, your way to get there. And if you don't get the opportunity, create it. Because also that's the difference with some people. Some people, they don't even think about, I want to create this opportunity for me or for whoever. They just wait. And I don't think you can be passive if you want to be a designer. You need to be very active. You need to study. You need to look outside. You need to think broadly. And you need to have this mindset that is going to be very important.
I think it's a pretty good definition. I don't know what to add to that.
We can quit. I don't have.
I wouldn't say we quit. I would just say that we go back to our work with renovated energy.
Yes.
That should be the approach, and I hope that's what everyone is getting. We're not trying for the denial or quitting here. Yeah, just for inspiration. Aspera ad astra, that's what our Latin friends used to say, and I think that's what we want to preach and do more than just preach. I think that this episode gave us a great glimpse into what it means to work and design for health, more than healthcare. It's just designing for saving people's lives. We know that it's a hot topic and many people want to get into that. I think you did a fantastic job in sharing us what is a new concept that will be introduced, giving us all the complexity and all the different factors that play in. So from really coming from a clear problem statement and opportunity into the design process of a device and all the supporting ecosystem that includes logistics and partnering with like a big partner like Amazon. And overall, you put like the icing on the cake by telling us all about like the passion that is driving you and what makes you better, up to the definition of what design should be. Phenomenal. I think I want to thank you again because I know how crazy your schedule is. I know how early we wake up even to do this episode. For the guys that don't know, we do that in Silicon Valley. But yes, we're proud and we're happy. I think it was very enriching for myself. I'm very happy that we find the time to do this.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Thank
I appreciate it. I had fun. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Keep finishing the work.
Keep pushing limits forward.
Ciao bello.
Never give up.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, guys.